Yo, welcome again. Beautiful day. Sunshine slowly coming out. Sitting here in the nature as much as I can right now. My name is Mikołaj Maria Dawidowski, and today we're talking about affirmations. Powerful tool. I'm sure you're at least somewhat aware of the fact that you can rewire your mind because it's malleable by bombarding the mind with information over and over again. You rewire it because the new information that comes into your mind replaces the old information that's been stored there. And if you repeat the same information over and over again, eventually it becomes your reality, even if it wasn't. This is why media in particular are so dangerous, because even if you do not fear right now, if you watch the media for long enough, you will fear, you will have the cravings to kill, you will see yourself in a fight or flight response, because that's all they're talking about. War and killing, dying and death, nothing else. Affirmations are a powerful tool that you can use. It works wonders, and there are many different affirmations that you can use along your path. I have mentioned previously in my videos about the 7 chakras. Usually each chakra has its own affirmations that it comes along with that stimulate each and every chakra. Videos coming on that when I do the detailed chakras. But the whole idea of an affirmation is you pick a positive statement or certain deep philosophical line, and you say it over and over and over again, and you contemplate upon it. You say it out loud, you say it in your head, you think about it, you contemplate what it means, what it constitutes of, and how can you interact with it. Of course, the most basic level is you just pick up a random line and you repeat it over and over. Like you hear these things like, I am safe, I am protected, the base. I am sufficient, I am enough, the solar plexus. I let go, the crown chakra. Things like that. Depending on what stage you are on, there'll be different things that you could be saying. I personally use I am that I am on my path. That affirmation came to me. It's also my prayer that I use when I had my revelation. Big enlightenment experience where everything exploded and I stopped being entirely. And there was just me and God and me, and we were one, and we were laughing at each other. And then I came back down with my affirmation, I am that I am. That's the gist of it. I'll do another video about my enlightenment experience and how it went down. By repeating affirmations over and over again. Affirmations, you know what they are. I've already stated that they are positive statements that you just repeat. You tell them to yourself because right now you're probably not there, or you need encouragement, So say that you are always afraid of things. You're always fearful of things. So the type of affirmation you would be using, it'd be something along the lines of, I am always safe, I am protected, I am guarded, I am guided, whatever it may be. The one that I had, which was like straight after I stopped fearing, and anytime fear came up to me, was I go about my father's business. I really like that one. It's like anything happened in the world around me. One time I walked into a riot by accident. I was in Israel, walking down from the Mountain of Temptation. I spent the night there, and so I was, well, Jericho, that's Palestine. And I was walking down from Mountain of Temptation, and I was just getting outside of Jericho, and there was this like long building. You have like uh, two streets that go side by side, and you had like palm trees in the middle. And as I was approaching the end of the wall that was quite high, so you couldn't see past it. It was like there was a house behind it, and then you could see the desert open up. And just as I was approaching the end of that, I've noticed that some of the palms were chopped down, and there were tires blocking the way, and there were bricks on the road, and some of the tires were burning. And I was like, But it was only on one road, so I was like, okay, maybe they're doing some reconstruction. Something did strike me as odd about it, but not odd enough for me to stop and think about this. Because I was hitchhiking and I didn't care much about what was happening. It's like I was on this spiritual journey where God told me to go to Israel, so I went. And I traveled all around. And the moment I approached the end of the wall, just like it was like a wave, just like a big tidal wave of about 40 men or so, just came out onto the road. They were just like, there was like this little ditch. They were jumping into the ditch and out of the ditch, or jumping over the ditch. And they had machetes, they had bricks. They were mostly masked, but without t-shirt. It looked quite funny in a way for me. They had all sorts of sticks and weapons that they were holding in their hands. And because they did it so quickly, I found myself like right in the middle of all of them. Like there was like a big batch to my left, big batch to my right, and I had to walk forward. Because there was only one street, and that street was going forward, or I could turn back. But there was no fear within me. I was already past the stages of fear. I was past the stage of base chakra. I already completed the challenge, so I was going on about my father's business. And that was exactly what I told myself. I started walking into the crowd, and I just told myself, I go about my father's business. This has nothing to do with me. I've got a mission here to accomplish that God sent me on, and all of this is just a distraction. It's nothing to do with me. And I found myself roughly in the center of the group, and there was this one guy who just came out right in front of me and just stared me dead in the eyes. And I told myself again, in my head, I go about my father's business. I was sort of like blessing him in my head, and I slightly nodded. And he slightly nodded, which really surprised me. And I just walked on. Zero fear. There was no fear. And it amazes me that there was no fear at that time, Because generally back then I considered myself to be a very fearful person. It was a specific time where I was exploring or ending to explore the base chakra, because you go through these cycles of chakras, and then once you reach the top you go back down and you bring out different fears than the fears that you worked with previously, or you work with the fears on a deeper level and stuff like that. So in general I was still perceiving myself as a very fearful person, but looking back at it I was like, this happened. And I was so determined on my task and on my goal that I was said that I had to just go, that I paid no mind and no attention to the outside circumstances. But the affirmation that I was using is I go about my Father's business, meaning the worldly affairs have nothing to do with me right now, because I go about the spiritual matters right now, and the physical will take care of itself. And I walked through the crowd and I kept walking, and I realized after walking for a few steps outside of the crowd already that my eyesight was quite bad at the time, that there are Israeli soldiers not that far off, just right in front of me again. And I am approaching them. There are like 5 guys armed to the teeth with rifles, grenades, pistols, full body armored, covered head to toe. You could not see a single bit of skin. Just proper like commando style, you know? As if taken straight out of an action film about the military. But I paid no mind. I only made the observation that they exist there. But I just walked. And I walked, getting closer and closer to them. And then I walked a little bit more. And as I was like about, I'm about a meter away from them. They were like, at this point, there were 2 streets. So they were on this street and I was walking on this street. And I was like almost in line with them. I just looked at one. One looked at me and I just gently nodded my head again, saying to myself, I go about my Father's business. And I just walked on. And I walked into the desert, and about a minute later a car pulled up and asked me where I'm going and if I need a ride. And of course I needed a ride. I was hitchhiking at the time. So I was like, yeah, sure, take me away from here. And that was it. That was my experience of exploring a riot, let's just say, whilst being completely protected and safe. Even though like the whole situation, if you look at it from human perspective, is there was nothing safe about that. But I knew in my entire self that I was safe, I was protected, I was guided, and I had a mission to accomplish, and the mission was more important than whatever distractions were happening around me. Affirmations are very powerful tools to rewire the brain. Use them wisely and use them as much as possible. You can use prayers or you can use actual affirmations. I'll cover each chakra and I'll give few affirmations for each chakra. And I'll do a video about the affirmation I use, and that one has the power to carry you through several chakras. But you have to get there. You have to build yourself up to that affirmation, so to speak. Because remember, we're laying the foundation. Right now, if you're suffering, most likely the only thoughts that you have are of negative feedback loop. So you think about how bad things are, and so you go off and you make things worse with your action because you're struggling and you're suffering and you have no awareness and you're playing the victim. And so you go off and you do terrible things, and then they all blow up because you're doing shit job at everything in the worst way possible because you're bitter, resentful, angry, whatever it may be, lazy, and you're constantly saying, oh, this is so bad, this is so awful, and by saying it, you're causing yourself to also carry it out. And so you witness the awfulness because it gets worse because you're focusing on it, and by the virtue of focusing upon anything, you're sending the energy to create more of it. 101 manifestation. Where your attention goes, that's where energy flows, and that's how you create reality. You will hear that one a lot from me. My life motto for a very long time, especially during the times of suffering, anytime anything went south, anytime anything went wrong, I dedicated and focused upon saying this: it is good and it will only be better. And truly, within a brief period of time, I always manage to find something good out of the situation, somehow, somewhere along the way. So I give you this life motto for now, before I give you actual affirmations that you can use. But this is an affirmation as well. Anything is an affirmation. Any word, any sentence, any line that you focus upon, sentence, paragraph, becomes an affirmation when it's repeated over and over again. So it is good and it will only be better. The best is yet to be. And so on and so forth. These are great affirmations because, like, when you take it apart, it is good. So there's already some goodness that you're just not perceiving yet, and it will only be better. And that goodness is going to get better with time. And so eventually, if you say it, your brain is gonna be forced to start seeing goodness somewhere along the way. And once you notice some of the goodness, that's going to invoke feelings, and the feelings are going to then hype you up, and you're going to say, oh, it is good and it will only be better. I say it during good times as well. When anything good happened back then, I also say, oh, it's good and it will only get better as well. And even if things turned into turmoil that I didn't understand because things were complex, I was trying to convince myself that somehow it is good for me and it will only get better. And somehow in the end, it always did. Because that's how we create reality. Because somehow my mind made it become a good thing. Regardless of what it was, I could have lost all my money, for example. And I told myself, okay, it's good. And it will only be better. Even though it is completely shit right now. Like, I would immediately counterbalance it, with my shitty thoughts. I would go, fuck, this is an awful situation. Wait. It is good and it will only be better. It is good and it will only be better. It is good and it will only be better. And then I lose all the money. But then, because I lost all the money, I went somewhere where I wouldn't have gone if I had money. And I met there someone who became like a crucial networking person for me to later on build my network with, and then they allowed me a lot of opportunities down the line and things like this. So it is good and it will only be better. Just because you don't understand the situation, it doesn't mean that there isn't any goodness within it. If we refuse to learn through love and compassion, we will learn through suffering. But you will experience things and you will learn things. And things goes in loops. You'll notice it's all a loop. Everything goes in loops, eternally and infinitely, playing the infinite dance. You will keep attracting the same type and the same manner of situations into your life until you learn the lesson. So say you're jealous of your coworker because whatever and you think they're so great, but at the same time you hate them, you resent them, and you badmouth them, and there becomes like this really bad dynamic at work, and you start hating your job because of it, because you hate it, because every time you go there you're reminded of what a worthless piece of shit you are, because you're constantly seeing this co-worker which is so much better than you, and they're always happy and they're always grateful, and it just reminds you of how miserable you are. And instead of looking at yourself and saying, well, there must be something wrong with me, there has to be something wrong that I'm doing here, and this is why I am the way I am, you blame it all on them. It's like, it's their fault, they're so awful, they're so whatever. You're gonna paint them into whatever devil you want, because it's gonna be your scapegoat, so you can play your victim mentality. And so eventually you quit your job because you hate it. And you absolutely hate your job. Why? Because you decided to hate your job, because you created it with your mind. But you haven't learned anything. You just quit the job and you went on to another job, and there you find there is another person who is also grateful and happy, and they're performing their duties fully, righteously, and to the best of their ability, trying to help others. And you demonize them straight away, because they also remind you of how bad you are. But the second time around, it's even stronger. Your emotions become even more powerful, and your resentment levels goes through the roof. And the third time around, it gets even stronger, and it will keep happening over and over until you snap. And when you snap, you either snap in a bad way and you go get possessed by the emotion that you're harboring, or you snap and you realize, okay, I have to change. It is me who is doing something wrong. It is me who is perceiving this in a wrongful manner somehow. I don't see it yet, but I know I must be doing something wrong. This is the act of repentance in my eyes. I did something wrong, and you just admit to it, and then you start looking for ways in which you've done it wrong. And if you just sit down and ask yourself, what am I doing wrong, your brain is going to be very quick to show you. If you truly want to know, your brain is going to be really, really fast and really sharp to tell you all the ways in which you're fucking up your life. But you have to humble yourself to get to that stage. And so if you snap in a positive way, you realize, okay, I've done bad, I've done goofed, but I can change this. I can somehow change this and make this into a better position than I am now. So you will go off and you'll find maybe an affirmation, or you're going to find some exercise that's going to make you happy, and you'll do it, and for a while things are going to get much better, and then it will snap back for a while because you're going to fall back into your old habits. And because of that, things are going to get bad again, and you're going to become resentful for a while again. But then as you continue on and you push through it with trying to build through, eventually you will get out of that negative cycle, you know? Because think about all the negative emotions you've already had in your life. So say you're 20 years old, or in your 20s, you have 20 years of build up shit that you have to break through in order to become free of it. And then you can start building upon good things. Once you get through all the negative shit that you've built up, you know, and only then. So there's a lot of work to be done, but you will get there, and it's possible. It is possible, and it doesn't matter how old you are, you can always change your life for the better if you just so choose. I've heard these success stories. I know people with these success stories where 82-year-old man who could barely walk starts going to the gym, picks up like a university course, and after like 11, 12 years in their 90s. These are old people, which, you know, excuses really goes to show. He starts his own business, and after the ages of 90, he makes his first million for the first time in his life. Has a degree, has full mobility, built muscle. Like, of course, he's not a bodybuilder, but he has muscle and he has a full range of motion, where in his 80s he could barely walk, you know? These things are possible, but you gotta escape the victimhood mentality. You have to stop looking for scapegoats. Blessings be upon you, my friend, and may you find your happiness and your greatness and your path, and embrace it fully. Have a wonderful day. Till the next time. Peace out. Whoa!